Good morning. My name's Dave Hackett. I use he, him pronouns. It's interesting. I just don't ever address myself as he or him, but I guess it's not for me. So I'm learning. I'm one of the board of trustees, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all this morning. A brief personal note is I'm also one of the chairs of what has been called the Pastoral Care Committee. And after 2 or 3 long lunches with Reverend Margot at Vuelva a la Vida, if you like some good Mexican food, we're thinking that our goal is really to sort of understand ourselves as a caring community and assume that there are lots of people here in the room that would love to come through for you if you'd like to talk or have lunch or go for a walk or get a ride to the airport. And if you don't know who to ask, then ask me or ask Tanya Baker, who's not here this morning. But there are lots of people in the room who want to come through for you. So keep us in mind. Unitarian Universalists are, oh, Nancy, did you want to go first? Oh, okay. It's not time yet. Hold your horses. We're trying to be organized. I am. Anyway, Unitarian Universalists are a community of people who hold many beliefs, many origins, identities, sexualities, genders. Having said that, we are probably, as a group, very pro-DEI oriented. And any support in that area that you feel like providing would be appreciated. If you're here for the first time, we bid you a special welcome. I know that a lot of people are dropping into this church or that church looking for a community. And we'd like you to be part of ours, but shopping is good. So after the service, there'll be coffee and snacks over there and a chance to get to know some people. And so thank you for coming and giving us a shot. There's also information about this church and about Unitarian Universalism on the web. Pretty easy to find. And we have a weekly e-news, which has all kinds of information in it about what's going on at church activities and schedules and information about who's speaking and stuff like that. So at this moment, we need to make time for some announcements. Let's start with Nancy Slocum, one of my personal favorites.
How sweet.
Not that I'm, oh yes, it's true.
Hi, I am Nancy Slocum. I've been in conversations also with Rev Margot. She's been a busy woman. About people's desire to have us as a community get involved in some social action projects, looking at social justice issues. There's a lot of energy around it, but there's been no coordination of it. So we want to pull together a committee eventually of people who want to coordinate these projects and give some thought to how we go about doing them. But to start with, what we first want to do is find out what's in the hearts of the congregation. Where do we want to put our efforts? What's important to us? And so this has been in the e-news for a couple of weeks, but there's a meeting today after church. If you're able to stay, we'll meet downstairs. We're just going to do some brainstorming. We're also there's a meeting offering tomorrow evening at 6:30. and also one on Zoom on Wednesday at 6:30. So if you're interested in attending any one of those, you don't have to come to all of them. You could if you wanted, I suppose, if you've got nothing else to do. Come join us and we're just going to chat about what social justice means to us, what social action looks like, and what are the things, where are the places we want to put our energy. So after the service, about, time for coffee, get your coffee, mingle. About 20 minutes after the service, we'll start meeting downstairs. I do have some light snacks if food's of concern, because it could be, it's lunchtime. But as a first thing, on June 14th, it is being called No King's Day. Have people heard about No King's Day? Anybody? Yeah, a few people, yeah. So we would like to go as a group, anybody who wants to come from the church, to Olympia. There's at the Capitol, there's going to be a demonstration. No kings, for people who don't know that. There's a chance for us to say we do not have kings here, and it is in response to, I believe there's a parade in Washington, D.C. for someone who's feeling kind of important and wanting to have a military parade. This also happens to be Trump's birthday. He's having this big parade to honor him, but there are going to be demonstrations around the country saying no kings. So, and it just occurred to me, maybe we can do a sign making thing, make signs to carry. So I'll see if I can pull something together. I'll get something in the newsletter on Friday, but I'm thinking we can meet here about 9:30. It starts at 11 in Olympia. We can carpool down. People who come, some of you I hope can drive people down. You'll be driving that day? I know. Yeah. Pardon? Okay. So there is one in Tacoma. We opted for Olympia. We're going to try to connect with the Olympia UU Church as well, but we like the idea of being at the Capitol for this one. So that's on June 14th. You can put that in your calendar. And I'll sign making, I'll work on that. Is there anyone who wants to work with me on gathering sign making stuff? And let me know. Thank you. Okay, yeah, we got a volunteer right there. And Michael, you had an announcement you wanted to make, is that right? Michael has an announcement about Pride in Tacoma. So, we're gonna do that.
I know it's weird seeing you out of the booth. But anyways, as of this week, we have been accepted to have a booth at Tacoma Pride this year on July 12th. I'll be looking for volunteers because we need at least probably 12 to 13 people to run it.
Thank you, Michael. Batter up. We are rich in announcements this morning.
Hi, I'm Susan Kunkel on the membership committee. We're planning an event or a series of events in August. I have a sign-up sheet here. We're looking for hosts, and you can pick a day, time, and format for a get-together. And just come see me to sign up. I'll get your information. And then in several weeks, maybe the beginning of July, we'll start signing people up to attend these events. But first off, we're looking for hosts. Thank you.
Cindy, shall we host? Not to put you on the spot. Oops. Anyway, thank you for your patience. We talked briefly about the social hour. I'll be hanging around up front here if you have any questions about the church or Unitarian Universalism. Let's chat. I'll buy the coffee. We have large print hymnals in the back that when I forget my glasses a lot, they help me. And we have assisted hearing devices in the back that also work real well, having tried them. As we begin the service this morning in this beautiful place, we call Tahoma. We want to acknowledge that we meet on the land of the Coast Salish people, including the Puyallup tribal nation. This is land from which they were forcibly displaced. I and we honor the resiliency of Indigenous people, and we stand with them as they continue to fight for their culture, land, water, visibility, sovereigns, and even their very existence. Lastly, please set your electronic devices to worship mode. And here we go. Thank you for your patience, Scott. Oh, ring the bell. I like this part.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Thanks, Dave, for kicking us off. For our opening words, just a few words from Annie Dillard. We are here to abet creation and to witness to it, to notice each other's beautiful face and complex nature, so that creation need not play to an empty house.
We start off our service with the lighting of the chalice. I'd like to invite Amanda Davis and her daughters Alana, age 7, and Anastasia, age 4, to come up and light our chalice. They've been coming here since October, and we're so happy to have them here. And I knew they were a good choice because as they entered the back door, Alana said, "Can I light a candle?" And I said, "Oh, I got something for you." So I will read, let's read our words, our chalice lighting words, and then they will light the chalice. We need the words up. Oh, we light first? Okay, we light first. Go ahead and light the chalice, sorry. Beautiful. She is a pro. She got it on the first time. All right. We light this chalice in deep respect for the mystery and holiness of life, in honor and gratitude for those who have gone before, with love and compassion for those who dwell among us, and with hope and faith for the generations to come. And now we will sing our opening hymn, number 364, I believe. We laugh, we cry, and Lauren is here as our song leader. 354. I didn't have a last time. Please rise if you are able.
Hooray for choir. I think it's now what we call time for all ages. So come on up here if you want to. And I don't mind, any ages can come up because it's time for all ages. When we're done with time for all ages, we are going to form an arch, but we're not going to sing the kids downstairs. We're going to sing the older of the kids over to the room over there. Cindy Hackett has agreed to help with that space. So we don't have RE downstairs, but there's room for kids over there in that smaller room. I've been thinking about things like calamity and catastrophe and disaster. Why would I do that? I was remembering Mount St. Helens, and I wasn't quite a grown-up when Mount St. Helens blew up, and it was something. And then I got preparing for this service, and something I was reading talked about the story in the book of Genesis, in the Torah, or in what we think of as the Old Testament, about Noah and the flood. And I was going to bring that, and then I thought, you know what? I can bring a more place-oriented version of that. So I found on the web the story of the Great Flood. This is a Coast Salish version from the Cowichan people. Their home is between, say, Victoria and Nanaimo, mostly on Vancouver Island, but they also have territories up the Fraser River a little ways. Here's the story that I found on the web about the Great Flood, Cowichan. Long before missionaries arrived in the New World, the Indians had ancient legends of a great flood, similar to that of Noah. This is the one that the Cowichan tell. In ancient times, there were so many people in the land that they lived everywhere. Soon, hunting became bad and food scarce, so that the people quarreled over hunting territories. Even in those days, people were skilled in making fine canoes and paddles from cedars, and clothing and baskets from their bark. In dreams, their wise old men could see the future, and there came a time when they all had similar but bad dreams that kept coming to them over and over again. The dreams warned of a great flood. This troubled the wise men, who told each other about their dreams. They found that they had all dreamed that the rain fell for such a long time, or that the river rose, causing a great flooding, so that all the people were drowned. They were much afraid, and they called a council to hear their dreams and decide what should be done. One said that they should build a great raft by tying many canoes together. Some of the people agreed, but others laughed at the old men and their dreams. The people who believed in the dreams worked hard to build the raft. It took many moons of hard work, lashing huge cedar log canoes together with strong ropes of cedar bark. When it was completed, they tied the raft with a great rope of cedar bark on the top of Mount Cowichan by passing one of the rope through the center of a huge stone, which can still be seen there. During the time when the people were working on the raft, those who did not believe in the dreams were idle and still laughed. But they did admire the fine, solid raft when it was at last finished and floated. Soon after the raft was ready, huge raindrops started falling. Rivers overflowed and the valleys were flooded. Although people climbed Mount Cowichan to avoid the great flood, it too was soon underwater. But those who had believed the dreams took food to the raft, and they and their families climbed into it as the waters rose. They lived on the raft many days and could see nothing but water. Even the mountaintops had disappeared beneath the flood. The people became much afraid when their canoes began to flood, and they prayed for help. Nothing happened for a long time, but then the rain stopped. The waters began to go down after a time, and finally the raft was grounded on top of Mount Cowichan. The huge stone anchor and the heavy rope had held it safe. As the water gradually sank lower and lower, the people could see their lands, but their homes had all been swept away. The valleys and forests had been destroyed. The people went back to their old land and started to rebuild their homes. After a long time, the number of people increased until once again the land was filled and the people started to quarrel again. This time they separated into tribes and clans, all going to different places. The storytellers say this is how people spread all over the earth. It sounds a little similar to stories that I heard when I was growing up, going to Sunday school, but it's also a little different. Yeah. All right, so we're going to make an arch, those of you near the center of the sanctuary, and children, remember to turn left and go into the room over in the corner, not downstairs.
Good morning. I'm Chrissy Kim, your chat chaplain. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm joining you from online today. Each week, we take time in our service to share our gifts in support of this beloved community and the work we do in the world. Your contributions of time, talent, and treasure help us live our values, support justice, and nurture the spirit. As you feel moved to give today to safe parking, trans relocation, baskets at the front, or you can earmark your donation online and/or our congregation, know that your generosity is deeply appreciated. And now let us receive the offering with grateful hearts. Will the ushers please come forward?
Now join me as we dedicate this offering. We dedicate ourselves and our offerings to the work of this congregation, weaving a tapestry of love we call community, both within and beyond these walls. And now let us sing our meditation hymn, number 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are.
Since we have choir with us today, we're going to split into two groups for this round because it is a round. So we'll have our sopranos leading our side over here to my left, and then our altos will lead to the right. So we'll start off with sopranos first, and then altos will come in after. We will sing it through once together. Look for my cues, ladies. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, wherever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again, come. Wanderer, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again, come. Come, yet again, come. Beautiful job, you guys. Thank you.
The order of service says reading, but instead it's a video. It's about 2 minutes from this woman, Diana Eck, who is the leader of the Pluralism Project at Harvard. It happens that Reverend Margot knows her because of a Bozeman connection, and we might feel some affiliation with Dr. Eck because she was born in Tacoma. So we're gonna, it's just about 2 minutes. It starts a little abruptly. She's talking about pluralism, and she'll explain it a little bit.
And the third context, of course, is that the age of pluralism is not just about how we study this diversity or how we appropriate it as citizens, but how we appropriate it as people of faith. Because people in every single faith tradition are faced with this same question that brings you here tonight. How do we interpret the diversity of human religious experience? How do we understand it as Christians or as Muslims? And one thing is very clear, that pluralism is not just this diversity. Pluralism is engagement with this diversity. It is not just tolerance, because tolerance is far too thin a foundation for a world in which we live as closely with one another as we do. We need to know more about each other and not simply tolerate each other. And pluralism is not relativism. Pluralism does not mean we all agree on this thing or that thing. The paradigm of pluralism does not require us to leave our identities and commitments behind, because pluralism is the encounter of commitments. And it means holding our deepest differences, even our religious differences, not in isolation, but in relation to one another. And the language of pluralism, finally, is the language of dialogue. And it is a language as we enter into the world in which we live today and will live for the rest of our lives. It is this language of dialogue that we need to learn, a language of hearing and listening, of witnessing and hearing the other. And this is the language, so to speak, the discourse of the future.
Well, thanks, everybody. I'm going to introduce myself first. I haven't done that yet this morning. I am a white, cis, hetero male. I'm a baby boomer. I'm a Puget Sound resident, and I've been employed. My profession has been Puget Sound, with that focus there since 1996. I come from settler colonizer stock in the Spokane County part of the state, from Spangle through Spokane to Newman Lake. And I've been a member here for 20 plus years. I've been engaged on our board with religious exploration, with a special shout out to Our Whole Lives. And I have at times been engaged in our worship team. And it's in that realm that I come to you today. As I've done before when speaking from this pulpit, I'm going to use there's a party in my mind to set the stage for what I want to share today. That's a David Byrne line from the Talking Heads song, Memories Can Wait. So if you could just have that going in your head, you'll enjoy this time with me. Just have a little Talking Heads going, okay? There's a party in my mind, and I hope it never stops. There's a party up there all the time. I take this approach to a party in my mind, even though I know that my telling you about a party is nowhere near as fun as you going to a party, right? But here I go. I'm going to tell you about some people and ideas that are sort of gathered in the party in my mind. And I'm going to introduce this sort of a mashup of ideas that relates to pluralism, as we just heard Diana Eck talk about, and some other readings I've done that have come to me sort of fortuitously around this very thing. I am going to wrap up with kind of my usual religious question, which goes something like, well, how then should we live? What should we do? I think that's one of the things that brings me to a place like TUUC, is looking for a religious response to that kind of question. So the party in my mind that I'm bringing today, I would say it starts in 2023, but then I have to rewind. I think like the planning, the initial moments of this trace all the way back to 2020, when in the midst of the COVID pandemic, I was engaged with people, especially at work on Puget Sound recovery issues, but also here at TUUC, about the liminal moments we were encountering. So liminal moments, for me, what works is look at an image, have an image in your mind of a trapeze artist, just letting go of one swinging bar and suspended, weightless for a moment on their way to another bar. That's a liminal moment. The liminal moments, as I mentioned during Time for All Ages, that are occurring to me in recent times have a bit of a calamitous and liminal moments. Like there's something going on, and a partial list would be a global pandemic of a novel virus, George Floyd's murder and the resulting social uprisings, the 2020 election, and the events of January 6th. I could go on into more recent times, but this party in my mind really got swinging in that kind of time frame 5 years ago. As you're living through something or have lived through it, you have the opportunity, and I think maybe the responsibility, to be a productive part of what comes next. Hence the flood story this morning. What comes next? Say you're ready to take the roof off the ark because the rain stopped, the flood waters recede, the dove comes back with an olive branch. What do you do next? What next? So I kind of want to go there, starting with where the Unitarian Universalism ideas have gone about what are our shared values and our purpose. They started working, the Association of Unitarian Universalists started working on revisiting their statement of purpose and shared values in the early parts of this decade. I won't say that this is a calamitous moment, but certainly a liminal moment. We were letting go of 7 principles and 6 sources and reaching towards something that we were needing to define. And what's interesting to me is we oriented towards love and 6 inseparable shared values, including this concept of pluralism, which feels like a concept newly articulated, newly expressed so explicitly in Unitarian Universalism. So here's what our shared values say about pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. And we covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. Now, I sort of start saying like, well, the UUA, the association of UUs is what is in my, is what's causing part of this party in my mind. But I should explain that the UU contingent includes much more local things, including sermons by Reverend Linda Hart when she was our minister, by Reverend Crystal Zerfoss when she was our minister, and by Margot, Reverend Margot, as she has been our minister, and by a series of guest ministers who also were helping us understand these new shared values. I really have to admit, I don't remember very much about the particulars of those. What I remember, and I don't think he's here today, but last summer, Paul Hartford stood here and gave a sermon about why peace was not adopted, and in his view, should not have been adopted as one of our shared values. And that sermon just really stuck with me. I'm argumentative about it, but I really appreciate what Paul brought to us. All of this, what the UUA has done, what's been said from this pulpit, is it comes together in what was adopted last June by the UUA. It centers love as our purpose and shared value, and then it calls out 6 other values, which they say are inseparable. And so we've come up with this, their jet pig. They are 6 things, JETPIG, jet pig. So if they're truly inseparable, I could just stop there, but that doesn't really mean much to us, right? So let me say, the J is for justice, E, equity, T, transformation, P, the focus of today, pluralism, I, interdependence, and G, generosity. So the thought is that centering in love and advancing in our work together in the world, those 6 values, we can be creatures who come through liminal times, calamitous times. We've experienced shutdowns of this sanctuary to slow the spread of a disease. We've had ministerial moments, I'll call them. We are witnessing, and we need to apparently do something on June 14th to confront the rise of tyranny in this country. There are times that we're a part of. And the idea, the Unitarian Universalist idea, is that with the spiritual discipline of love and our shared values, we can move through these times. So that's the UU part of the party in my mind. I want to introduce a couple of things. I brought some visual aids. I am a reader. Ginny's here. She knows this about me. Others of you know this about me. I'm going to talk first about this book by Jonathan Sacks. It's called The Dignity of Difference. And I can loan anyone this copy. I will probably want it back, or I know where to buy it, I guess. my Aunt Betsy, my marvelous Aunt Betsy, lent me her copy a few years ago, and it made a big difference for me to read this, especially as the UUA was talking about pluralism. Sachs wrote this in 2002, in the aftermath of 9/11. And what he was offering was a hopeful response to the religious fundamentalism that inspired and fueled the September 11th attacks. He had something important to say about that moment in the world's history. And he found a way, especially in the last little chapter here called The Covenant of Hope, found a way to suggest the opportunity we had for a reset. How then should we live? The copy I have now, I bought used. It has underlined a line from near the back of the book, but my Aunt Betsy's copy also had this line underlined. Pluralism is a form of hope. And we'll talk more about this as I introduce some more of what's interacting in the party in my mind. But just remember that pluralism is a form of hope. And Sachs does a great job in the last chapter of connecting this to covenant, which I promised to do in the sermon. So I'll mention it now. There's a covenant of hope. Pluralism is central to that. As I read that, was getting ready for like, what's this service opportunity that I have? June 1st kind of came quickly for me. I didn't know I was going to be here. I did a quick Google search and found the Pluralism project. You saw Diana Eck a little earlier. There's an incredible, especially about interreligious engagement part of pluralism at the Pluralism Project web pages, and lots of videos on YouTube. So that I'm interacting with that, and importantly, what we heard Dr. X say in that brief video was, we're talking about more than tolerance. We're talking about active engagement. Rather latecomer to the party in my mind is this fantastic recent book by Naomi Klein called Doppelganger. And I had never encountered Naomi Klein before I read this. I am going to read more of her stuff. I will just recommend this as offering great insights into what in the world is happening. How are alliances that we're seeing making sense? How are ideas based on misinformation taking hold? She's just brilliant. She happens to be on the faculty at University of British Columbia these days. She has a faculty position about something around engagement around climate justice. She's offering, this is a recent book, she's offering a hopeful response to the COVID times, the social upheavals of 2020 and early 2021. So, and even though Naomi Klein was new to me, she had written a book in 2001 that Jonathan Sachs quotes in his 2002 book. She wrote about no logo, about self-branding and the weirdness of the unsettlingness. She seems to have a real skill and artfulness in helping explain her own unsettledness and the unsettledness that others of us might feel. Both Klein and Sachs are unflinching in offering critiques of capitalism that is not complemented by something that's more human-centered. Klein, for instance, in this book, describes herself as a leftist focused on capital's ravaging of our bodies, our democratic structures, and the living systems that support our collective existence. Her writing echoes a deeper vein that Sachs builds in his book, and he refers back to Klein talks a lot about the pandemic times, and for instance, When COVID hit, it turned out we were a society after all, that the young and healthy should make sacrifices for the old and ill, that we should wear masks as an act of solidarity with them, if not for ourselves, that we should applaud and thank the very people, many of them Black, many of them women, many of them born in poorer countries, whose lives and labor had been most systematically devalued, discounted, and demeaned before the pandemic. So that with that sort of recent thinking, I found it aligning with stuff Sachs had written about, and he goes back to his the theology in Judaism, that there is a real difference between possession and ownership. And from there, he goes on to say, we merely hold in trust, which to him means we share part of what we have with others in need. Also, we share some of our surplus with those who have less. I can't read that or recite it again without thinking of Coast Salish people and the concept of potlatch, and just the similarity in Judaism and Coast Salish, like I think we could witness in the flood stories from today. For Sachs and his explanation of Jewish theology, there's an imperative to share. And that arises from an understanding that, and this sort of sounds everyone has a right to a dignified life and to be equal citizens in covenantal community. Furthermore, he explains that this understanding leads to a focus on collective freedom, where my freedom is not bought at the price of yours. Sachs does a really nice job of saying what pluralism and a covenant of hope can do for us. Klein goes a little darker in a way, and she talks about what happens if we don't adopt these approaches. For instance, she says, when people lose the ability to imagine the perspectives of others and enter a state of thoughtlessness, totalitarianism takes hold. So this interplay between these two people, this party in my mind, the UUA maybe got there first, but these entities came along. And then nicely echoed by what Diana Eck and her crew at the Pluralism Project talk about, I think tell us about how we can best live into a covenant of hope. So I'm not going to read to you the 7 or 8 pages at the back of Sachs' book, but I'm going to blend a little bit of Sachs thinking with the Pluralism Project thinking to say, okay, now how then should we live? What can we do? And the first idea in the Covenant of Hope from Jonathan Sachs is we just do what we often do as UUs, as people in relationships. We should join together in covenantal relationships. We do this, we use words to place ourselves under obligation. It happens with our life partners. It happens when we make pledges of financial support to TUUC. We've all practiced that. And other things. As we do that, as we enter covenants, we affirm, to use Sachs's phrase, the dignity of difference. Both parties in covenant, all parties in covenant, recognize that it is not good for a person or organization to be alone. Covenants are needed. They in fact exist because we are each different. Covenants are inherently pluralistic. We come here, we covenant to do some things together. We are our own people as we do that, though. So the second thing Sachs says to do is, well, he encourages us to proclaim our identities. And I think Dave was getting at this a little bit. For us, this is like we are religious liberals. We have these JETPIG 6 shared values, and we work on them through the spiritual discipline of love. Sachs would have us proclaim that in this moment, we also share our understanding of what he calls the matrix of mutuality and our concern for the well-being of others. Sachs, from his perspective, talks about this being that he sees the divine presence in the face of the stranger, that he is heeding the cry of those who are disempowered. We might have our own versions of those. Sachs would also have us proclaim, we are different and we seek to preserve our differences. Diana Eck talked about this. We're not needing to agree with everyone else, with anyone else. We understand the world and the future are inherently pluralistic. I struggle a little bit with how much can we own the word woke? I sort of want to say, I'm woke and I'm proud. This is Dave's point about DEI up here during announcements. I don't know, it's a disparaging word the way some use it. I don't think it has to be. Like Buddhists around us would say, wake up. That's an important thing, wake up. So finally, I'm going to wrap up here, wondering a little bit, talking a little bit, how we enact this idea of pluralism as we broaden the obligations we make in the world. Nancy's hosting a little session downstairs right after this. She'll be back at it tomorrow evening, and she'll be back at it again on Wednesday via Zoom. We can have conversations about what our engagement looks like. And I wanted this moment to say, let's remember the centrality of pluralism as we do that. As we plan our programs, including our social action efforts, let's think about something the way Diana Eck would ask us to think about it. With whom, both across this congregation and outside this organization, will we, to use Diana Eck's phrase, energetically engage? With whom? Energetically engage. And I have some ideas here about intergenerational things here in the sanctuary, newer members versus more longtime members. Out in the world, I think about interfaith work. The neighborhood here, South 56th and L Street, is a special place in Tacoma. We're part of it. We've had a connection to Forest Man Elementary. What might that look like? And then the second Diana Eck inspired question is, what can we do to actively seek understanding across lines of difference? Actively seek understanding. And again, I'll probably say this is about interfaith work in some ways for us. For me personally, this is hard. I have neighbors, cousins, brothers-in-law that I don't know how to have these conversations. But I hope we can imagine that someone who is voted differently than we have, who watches and hears news different than the news that we take in, can be open to this kind of conversation, in that they will share concerns about the future for our places and our communities. So let's try to go there. Thank you. I'm just going to take a moment. Let's set an intention for the hours ahead, which might include talking with Nancy and others. For the week ahead, more opportunities there. And just, what might we do with what's come across the parties in our own minds through the course of the day. Thank you. All right, I've got some brief closing words. But first, we're going to sing our closing hymn. This Is My Song. It's number 159 in the Gray Hymnal. The words will be on screen and the choir is coming up. They're ready again. Thank you, choir. Some closing words from Emil Gudmundsson. And now, may we have faith in life to do wise planting, that the generations to come may reap even more abundantly than we. May we be bold in bringing to fruition the golden dreams of human kinship and justice. This we ask, that the fields of promise become fields of reality.
Now we will extinguish our chalice. You'll join me in the extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now let us stand and sing our closing blessing song, From You I Receive, number 402. And we will sing